Hello, I'm Skaya, and welcome to Face, our weekly summary of top events, but from a Central European perspective. I'm happy to welcome in studio with me TVP World Editor-in-Chief Michał Broniatowski. Michał, so happy to have you here on another episode of Face to Face.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, Michał, a peace deal for Ukraine in the spotlight this week, and not just this week. And to begin, I am inviting you to listen to a soundbite by President Volodymyr Zelensky.
If we agree a deal specifying when Ukraine becomes a member of the EU, the Americans, as party to this agreement, will do everything so that our European path cannot be blocked by others in Europe, over whom they have influence.
So, Michał, we just heard President Zelensky saying that if we agree a deal specifying when Ukraine becomes a member of the EU, is this fast track realistic?
You know, it was very unclear when he said that yesterday. Why would he mention European Union admission for Ukraine in such big detail suddenly during talks about something else in Lviv? There were discussions about their accession, but not quick accession, but only the road towards this accession. There were 10 points listed as important on the way for Ukraine to the European Union. And suddenly today we spotted an article from Financial Times in which they say, sourcing it to people who saw the proposal, that Ukraine may be included into or allowed to enter the European Union already on January 1st, 2027, and this would be a part of the peace agreement which is now being pushed through by Americans. There are several things which are very strange here. First of all, everybody is repeating that it is Americans who are pushing European Union membership of Ukraine. How come?
So you don't think so?
They may be pushing, but it's not very appropriate. However, yesterday also Zelensky said the issue of Ukraine's future EU membership depends largely on the Europeans and on the Americans too, in fact. How come? So it appears that it is a part of the proposal by which Americans who are leading these negotiations are trying to soften the position of Ukraine, because if something like that is agreed as a peace plan, it would, simple as that, it will force Brussels to give up all the procedures which were applicable, for example, for Poland's accession into the European Union, with all, you know.
It will be giving Ukraine priority over other countries.
Yeah, well, it would give Ukraine access to EU funds, voting power, and benefits such as agricultural policy.
But let me ask you this. Do you think, just here initially, one of the first things you mentioned was, I don't know what Zelensky means or why this sudden change, right, in words. So let me ask you this. Do you think that this trying EU accession suddenly, with Zelensky saying this and this coming out to a peace deal, is that maybe going to risk to force Ukraine into concessions that it wouldn't otherwise make? Is that what we might be seeing? For instance,
we don't know that, but maybe, as I said, it may be a way of softening their position on territorial issues. And NATO accession, which was a part of this now doomed 28 point proposed by Americans together with Russians, this ban on NATO accession for Ukraine. So it may be a part of the deal. But the problem, when we look at this sudden leak that Ukraine might be entering European Union already within next year, in a year time from today, not only that it requires the agreement of European Union itself to overcome all these hurdles to get into the Union, but it's also against stated interests of Russia. You know, they may be against Ukraine's admission to NATO because of some security and strategic understanding of this deal, but Ukraine entering European Union is absolute anathema for Russia, because it means that a big country, big post-Soviet country, may enter European Union and be a democratic, normal democratic country.
Michał, I mean, I know you're saying this, and I know it may be a little bit of a difficult question to answer, but I mean, at this point, so now you're saying, Russia won't agree to this, Ukraine stepping into becoming part of a member of the EU. We had Yuri Ushakov recently, who was foreign policy advisor to Putin, who also said, I'm quoting him, that this territory will come under full Russian control. We're talking about Donbass by military means, if not through negotiations, and a ceasefire can only begin after Ukrainian troops withdraw. So, I mean, Russia here doesn't seem to be ceding anything into this.
I think these are the rules of negotiations, especially the rules of negotiations
Russia doesn't seem to be negotiating
in which Russians are participating. They are, until the last moment, they are presenting their maximum position just in order to compromise on something, because they assume that if they keep their initial position until the last moment, so the size of the compromise will be minimized. We will see whether this situation with this peace planning for the war in Ukraine is a very dynamic process, as we can see. Almost every day we see new proposals. There is this apparently agreed in London during the meeting between Zelensky and three leaders of Britain, France, and Germany. They drafted a 20 points peace plan. We don't know the details of this plan, but it looks like we are now getting to know some parts of it. And this is already sent. This has been sent to Washington for review. We'll see.
What should we expect?
One of the main obstacles, really, to stop bloodshed on the front is for them to agree what is the ceasefire, because Russian understanding of ceasefire is peace pact agreed and signed, and then we cease fire. But normally on the front, you cease fire and then go to peace talks.
Michał, President Trump is reportedly pushing for a deal by Christmas. What do you think?
Oh, there were so many deadlines presented by Mr. Trump. Christmas, then
24 hours.
Then International Women's Day on March 8. There can be lots of days possible. We will see when it happens.
Michał, Congress also is openly reminding the White House that Europe is in fact America's ally and not Moscow. How much pressure do you think something like that could actually put on Trump?
He didn't announce in his security strategy, national security strategy, which he announced 1 week ago, he didn't say that in particular we will lower the number of troops in Europe. So it is not contradictory. I think Congress is showing him that you are not the only one who is sitting behind the steering wheel. The military policy of the United States is also being decided by Congress, and Congress is in fact releasing money for defense. So this is just, by the way, bipartisan reminder for Mr. Trump, and I think it was an unwanted warning for him.
In what way?
Well, the Republicans are showing him that not so fast, Mr. Trump. We are here to control what you do. But there is nothing concrete yet. We'll see what happens.
Michał, do you think that this American emerging, Donald Trump's approach would mark a historic turning point in geopolitics?
The strategy, it is. It is a turning point, historical turning point, I believe, because it, we were wondering what is the direction in which American thinking about international politics, global politics, is going, and we were wondering, not for once, we were wondering in this program, why are Americans so nice to Russians in this peace process of the war in Ukraine? That we suspected that Russians have something hidden against Trump, some compromising materials. We were thinking.
Do they?
I don't know. We will see when it happens.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump...
I haven't finished. We were thinking that he was doing it because he wanted to lure Russia from the hands of China, and because of that he was very nice to Mr. Putin. And now we see that he simply wants Mr. Putin, whom he didn't blame for anything in his strategic document, he wants him to cooperate against Europe, which he, calls declining continent, and he wants to support parties whose programs are to destroy the European Union. So now it is clear he's so nice to Moscow because he wants them to go hand in hand with Washington to dismantle the European Union.
So it means that he's not a very neutral mediator, if you ask me.
He's not a neutral mediator. He's a Russian broker in this process. Well, we now see how it looks. On one side you have Ukraine and Europe, and on the other side, Americans who are not even hiding that this 28 points plan was dictated to them by Russian officials. So, yes, he is not neutral.
I wonder if people saw this coming before Donald Trump was elected. Michał, I want to move on. I mean, frozen Russian assets do remain the most explosive topic right now regarding the war in Ukraine and for President Zelensky. And now we have, Belgian Mr. De Wever, who is in London for talks with Keir Starmer. And again, we talk about this week in, week out. The deadline is coming up, right? December 18. What's going on?
Well, what we saw, a very important event took place yesterday. European Union countries' ambassadors decided, in the context of these frozen Russian assets, to apply Article 122 of the European Union Treaty, which allows European Commission to introduce spending in very special situation important for security or integrity of the European Union, and in such case the unanimity of all members is not required. So this means that in the context of the over 200 billion Russian assets which are immobilized, mostly in Belgium but also in other countries, can continue being immobilized, or a decision can be taken for them to be used as a basis for this reparations loan for Ukraine. The decision on that doesn't require unanimous decision of all countries. The obvious targets of that is the possible veto from Hungary and possibly Slovakia. Now they won't be able to do it, and even more importantly, not only about these assets, because Belgium was worried that it may suddenly appear that they have to return this money to Russia in case, for example, lack of decision on prolonging the every half a year of sanction packages for Russia. And sanctions, or the immobilization of assets, is part of this sanctions package. So if sanctions were lifted, it would mean immediately that money was freed and must be returned to Russia. Now it is excluded from this sanctions package, which has also another element in it, because it is possible that a peace plan to which Russia may agree would include lifting of sanctions, which would again mean that this money has to be returned immediately to Russia. Now, these assets are removed from sanctions, and they can be held on European accounts, and especially Belgium, indefinitely.
Michał, I want to ask you, say this plan goes through. Is this possible that it's going to reshape all of Europe's security architecture? Could it be rewritten? Could we see a massive change in our region completely?
The peace plan, or this freeing Russian assets to support the Ukrainian war effort, all that, if agreed, can change the situation in a way that we don't have war in Ukraine if there is a peace plan.
But I mean, what about what Mark Rutte said this week, that we are Russia's next target?
Well, it's very good that the head of NATO, the organization which was created in order to prevent then Soviet and now Russian invasion on any of the member states, if he's saying that, he means that. Obvious targets are three small Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And another target is Poland. Poland is bordering with very heavily militarized region of Kaliningrad, and may well happen. And we are already seeing lethal attacks, Russian lethal attacks against Poland. Luckily, they failed to realize it to the end. But the attack on the railroad, which took place last month in eastern Poland, was obviously aimed at killing civilians in big numbers.
Michał, and just shortly before we finish this episode, a little under 2 minutes, what do you think we can expect from next week's European Council meeting? Well,
the main thing at this European Council will be to decide on Russian assets. They will take decision, formal decision on what was agreed by ambassadors yesterday concerning these assets and sanctions. So they will formalize it. But another thing which is necessary to be agreed is, in the end, decision on freeing the assets. And well, let's hope Belgium is convinced. The reason why Mr. De Wever is now in London, because Britain is not a part of the European Union. So when the European Union claims support for to cover the risk of support the risk of Belgium over these assets, that one day they would be forced to pay it back. Apparently, the Prime Minister of Belgium wants also Brits to give him guarantees.
security guarantees. I think all of us, what we do want, Michał, is to finally see peace.
We'll see it next week when we speak.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Michał Broniatowski, Editor-in-Chief of TVP World, for being my guest here today on TVP World Face to Face. And thank you back home there for watching Face to Face. We'll see you back here next week, and stay on with TVP World for more news and analysis.